video on now. Does anybody see that it started yet?
Yeah, it's recording.
All right. So, welcome to our Sunday afternoon call. In Britain, it's a sometime in the late morning, and here in Thailand, it's just after 4 o'clock. What time is it there in Vietnam, Rick?
Same, just after 4 o'clock.
They still have the same. Okay. All right. So, to we haven't even gotten a topic started. What are we going to talk about? Rick, you got something?
I have one topic, Dhammarato.
All right.
I was thinking about the Samadhi, which you describe as a unification of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a few times about it. So I'm wondering if you can give a little bit more elaboration that, so what exactly is unifying, and what's happening when the mind is not in Samadhi? So what is like a divided mind, and some
All
psychological interpretation?
Okay. That sounds like a good enough topic. We'll get it together. But one thing, though, before we get started, is that Kat has been, let us say, watt hopping, investigating around, and was getting a bit discouraged, though I wasn't discouraged. I knew that he'd find something. And then, serendipitously, something happened. Tell us, Kat. Tell us what happened with you.
Yeah, I was just randomly driving, and I just literally in the corner of my eye saw like just this orange robe flapping in like just in between the forest, like forest trees, and I just walked in to look, and there was like this tiny little temple. And then I opened my phone and I was like looking, where am I? And it didn't come up on Google Maps. So the temple is not on the internet. And I just walked in and I went up to the monk, and he was the only monk there basically. And he spoke English, which was surprising, and he spoke good English. And he's very 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 cool to kind of just talk to, and he kind of said, you can hang out here. There's like 5 or 6 kutis. Little kutis are like little meditation houses. I don't know how to describe a kuti. It's like a shed or like a tree house. I don't know, but place you can just hang out on. And yeah, I think it's a really good place to just chill out in. It's not like a real wat. It's not like a monastery with like an abbot and nuns and monks. It's just a couple of monks. Now there's 2 monks. I went back today, and there's 2 monks there. One is just traveling, and one is the one that hangs around a bit. And yeah, really, really chill vibes. Like very, very relaxed.
And so you're going to find a kuti there.
Yeah, I gotta clean one out and jump into it for a while.
Well, that's what's happened in Forest Watch is that when the monks move out, actually the monks don't even have to move out. The animals will be moving in on a regular basis. But when the monk moves out, the animals really move in. There's going to be a lot of leaves, sometimes some nests, a lot of dirt, all kinds of things that will be there. Can you turn your mic off now, Kat? Because I hear an echo. There you go. All right. So the good news is that Kat's found a wat that's got actually empty kutis. That most of the wats here on the island, it's not that they say, oh no, we don't want you here. It's that we don't have accommodations. That the wat's full. In fact, Kopangan is a favorite kind of hangout for the monks. They like it here. Got good weather, got good food available, Pindabat, and all of that kind of stuff. But here we found this tiny little wat that's not fully a wat, but it would be called a wat because it's the word wat actually is a contraction of the word vihara, and what that means is basically is in the heart. The V is also in the sense of going into, or also it has the connotation of high quality, like in words with like vivek or vipassana or vihara, and that it actually literally means the home is what it means. In the home, in the house, in the heart. You can hear the word hara, and that in many Asian languages, the word hara is used as the word for heart. So it's a home. And that I'm really pleased that Kat's found a place. He's certainly welcome here on the porch in perpetuity. But getting his own little hut. Now, the word kuti is a Thai word that can easily be translated as hut. It's a one-room house, and most kutis don't even have a toilet. I mean, you've got the woods, you've got the forest to take care of nature. Taking care of nature in nature. And at Wat Suan Mok, they did have a few toilets that were spread around that had water facilities and things like that. But the kutis normally don't have a bathroom, they don't have a kitchen, but they have something special we would call a porch. They all have a little porch, and that I'm really pleased that Kat's found something. But instead of just dragging one mouse home, he's got bunches of them. In other words, this place has got more kutis, so more guys can come hang out. The very thing that I was wanting was to find a place here on the island where a lot of Westerners can come to hang out. And with all the kutis filled up with the Thai, and there's actually places where there's a Russian monk at Wat Rusi Pa Siang Tong, where a Cat was, and there also is a Russian layman that's staying at Wat Khao Tum and taking up the last kuti there. So
there's also a Russian at that place I just found, but he left recently, so I don't know. Russians are everywhere here in Copenhagen.
Yes. Actually, Thailand is a favorite destination for Russians. Years ago, the police had to deal with the Russian mafia, but I think that they have gotten all of that fixed up. That in fact, it was on Pernchit Road in Bangkok that they had really established and were getting girls to have a whole brothel area, and the girls turned them into the cops. And so all the Russian mafia moved to Pattaya and is established there. But there's a lot of other Russians that are all over, and Kopangan is a favorite kind of hangout. And I'm really glad to hear that these Russians are getting into the Dhamma. But that's a really beautiful thing for Russians to have found the Dhamma. So Michael is coming next month, and I'm really pleased that we're now got several possibilities for him to stay. I was expecting him to stay at Wat Rusi Pa Siang Tong, but now we have this other little Wat. Cat, does it even have a name?
I don't think so. I mean, there's a sign there with some Thai name, but I don't think it has an official, like, what this. It doesn't have a name like that.
Ask the monk who is there. Yeah, ask that monk to see if he even has a name for the Wat. And there are places like that all over Thailand that don't ever get on Google Map. They're not big enough, and nobody's turned them in to Google. But I'm glad to hear that there's at least one of those kind of wats, very secluded, 10 minutes away from the road, across a little river. Everything is just really beautiful. So today we're going to talk about the word samadhi. Now, the first thing that I have to say is that the word samadhi is translated into English as concentration, which has caused a great deal of consternation. That we use that word concentration in Western Buddhism often. And in fact, samadhi is in many ways exactly opposite of that. That concentration means that you take things apart to get down to the just essentials. And that you can see that in people will be concentrated on a book. They get absorbed into the book. They read the book. And there could be a snake crawling up their leg. And they're not aware of it because they're concentrating. There was a time when one of the students called that his dad was chewing him out. And the reason for it is because Dad came into the bedroom and said goodnight, and Willie was writing code. And he didn't pay any attention to his dad. And that made his dad unhappy and angry. So, concentration is exactly opposite of what we're actually practicing, which means to bring everything together. A good example would be American Indian teepee or a wigwam, where you have a bunch of ridge poles, hopefully more than 4, and that you tie them all together in a bundle only on one end. And then all of the other ends are spread out like legs in a circle, and that gives it a great deal of stability. And then they wrap it with animal skins, making a tent. Another example would be a yurt, which is the house that they live in Mongolia. That in fact, the yurt is the example that we'll find in old Buddhist literature, that it has a single ridgepole in the middle, and then it has other poles that spring out from that, and they're all tied together. So what samadhi actually means would be that top of the tent for the teepee would be the samadhi point, where everything comes together. All of the ridge poles support one another. In the yurt, the center pole would not stand on its own, but it's collected together because all of these other poles are stretched out to the wall area. So samadhi actually means that we bring things together for support. Now let's look at concentration. I've got a favorite story about concentration. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but way back when they were doing a lot of advertisement on television about frozen concentrated orange juice. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Frozen concentrated orange juice, in order to send it out, they would take most of the water out for transportation. And then people would buy it from the freezer at a grocery store, bring it home and put it in their freezer. But no one actually drinks frozen concentrated orange juice. It's not like ice cream. It's very strong, very bitter. And that what people will do is add water and sometimes sugar back to it to make it whole again. So concentrated orange juice is like undrinkable until you make it whole again, which means that when you drink it, you want to have more water back in it, which makes it samadhi. If we can recognize that samadhi means gathering together the factors. So in the first jhana, gathering all the factors together of the first jhana would be being in samadhi. that in fact in Thailand, meditation is referred to as samadhi. That's the word that they use. And that in general, the population think that samadhi is for the monks, not for the lay people. But a lot of practices are picking up in the sense of bringing the mind together, unifying the mind. So anything that has to do with unification of mind or bringing the mind together would be called a samadhi practice. Now, we find the word samadhi in many places. It's referred to the first jhana. I think, in fact, in the Anapanasati Sutta, the word samadhi is used. Is certainly in the Eightfold Noble Path. Samadhi is also part of the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Sambhojana, and so it's a commonly used word, but it does not mean concentration. So in the Eightfold Noble Path, we can look at it there because this is the place where it has the most value. That when we are bringing the factors of the Eightfold Noble Path together in the sense of right view, right remembering to do the view, and right effort, bringing that together, those 3 items, bringing them together will get the mind into a wholesome state. And when we keep doing that over and over again, bringing in the confidence that we can do this. The Pali word for confidence is shraddha, and is referred to in the Eightfold Noble Path as sammasankappa. And that sammasankappa actually has the quality of bringing things together, and it also has the quality of changing one's attitude. Everybody in human, I think almost all the animals that are born in a state of victimhood. Little puppies, they can't take care of themselves. Babies can't take care of themselves. Little kids can't change their own diaper. They can't even control their bowels. That's why they need a diaper. And so we start off with victims, and most humans in our society stay in the position of being victims basically for their whole lives. When they're adults, they're victims of the cops, they're victims of the law, they're victims of the tax man, they're victims of the government, they're victims of their religion, they're victims of their spouses, they're victims of all kinds of things like jobs and whatnot. That job owns me, and we stay victimized. And so what we're practicing with the Eightfold Noble Path is to come out of that sense of needing something else on the outside and bringing in that quality of being whole in ourselves, which also has the quality of confidence. So, as we're practicing the Eightfold Noble Path, bringing up sati, to remember, to wake up, to come into the present moment, to be here now, to see what's going on, and that looking and inspection and investigation is right view. And when we practice right viewing, what that means that we're practicing it with discernment. What's going on here in the sense of, can it be changed? Can it be modified? And so we start to change the present moment in the sense of getting the mind in a wholesome state. That's an important point, of getting the mind in a wholesome state, and how we do that is by having wholesome thoughts. And so the mind will begin to change the state of mind, and that in the Anapanasati Sutta it talks about gladdening the mind, but here we're not talking about just having happy thoughts. We're talking about changing the mind state from being dull, victimized, And we are, in fact, victimized by our own unwholesome thoughts. Oh, look at that problem. Oh, look at this problem. Oh, I've got to do this work. Oh, there's this to do. That kind of stuff we feel victimized by. And that the one of the ways that we can see why the world is so victimized is look how many agents there are out there. We're victimized by the law, we need a lawyer. We're victimized by the tax man, we need an accountant. We're victimized by the unhealthiness of our body, we need a doctor. That Christianity is all based upon it. You're broken. You've got original sin, you know. You can't fix yourself. You're a victim. God born you as a victim. What are you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do. You can't save yourself. You can't save yourself from your sin. You got to get a plastic Jesus to do that for you. I'm glad you got my joke, Rick. Okay, so Christianity is based upon keeping the people in the audience all victims so that they need something on the outside. And when we're practicing Anapanasati, we start gladdening the mind and coming out of our fear, because victimization is all based upon fear. Oh, I can't fix it myself. I've got to have help. And so we're victimized into feeling fear, uncomfortableness, and always dissatisfaction, which is basically the dukkha in the Pali, that we are dissatisfied. So let's practice being satisfied. Let's practice recognizing right now there's nothing to fear. Right now, there is nothing that is uncomfortable. Right now, I can be satisfied. And when we bring that satisfaction in over and over and over again, we begin to build confidence. And that confidence then takes us out of being a victim into feeling like, I can do this. I can practice Anapanasati. I can change my own mind. That in fact, it's important to remember that the entire teachings of the Buddha is a change model. Can you change? Because Christianity is based upon you can't change. You're stuck. Your soul is eternal. And when you die, you're going to be a football of a soul, and God's going to kick you one way or the other, and it's all his choice. You don't have any say-so about it at all. All you can do is suck up to him. Maybe he'll have mercy for you, but you can't control anything. So all of Christianity is based upon being out of control. And the entire teaching of the Buddha is that being out of control is dissatisfying. Wouldn't you agree, Rick, that when you're feeling victim and you're out of control of your life and you've got to go to work and you've got to make car payments and you got to do this and you got to do that and you don't have any choice about it, you don't feel like that you're a whole. You feel like you're being torn apart by all of these various factors, and you can't have anything to say about it. You can't walk off. That you're a victim. Is that right?
In certain moments, yes. Like for example, when you're getting audited or something, it's like I have to. I don't know anything about it, else I'm basically screwed, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And we have to do it, then tears us apart. Because we don't want to do it, we have to do it. Right? And so that have to do it is an unwholesome thought, and we don't like it. We're dissatisfied with it. And so what we're practicing with Anapanasati is to learn to be satisfied. And when we practice that over and over again, Amrit, when we practice that over and over again, we begin to develop the idea that, hey, I can be my own boss. I can win this. This is where we add the quality of not just satisfaction, but success, that you become the winner in your life. You can do this. You've got choices now. If you remember you've got choices, you can make the choice. You can, in fact, one way of talking about it is that you can feel the way you want to feel rather than being victimized by the habits of the feelings that you've developed over many years. Mostly when we're really little kids, we develop a personality which is based upon how bad do we feel and which way do we feel bad. And here we're practicing just the opposite of that. We're practicing to stop allowing things to tear us apart. That a really important way of seeing this is that we have rules, you know, and you picked up those rules all your life. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to pick up your toys. You're supposed to clean your room. You're supposed to do your homework. You're supposed to win at sports. You're supposed to have good grades. You guys have all been through this, right? All of these rules, all of these supposed tos, all of these standards. Does that make you whole, or does that tear you apart?
Tears you apart.
Yeah, it tears us apart, doesn't it? Right. So, if we can start to practice, hey, I'm the winner here. Hey, I am not a victim. I can choose the way that I feel. I can choose what activities that I do. And what activities that are needed and necessary, I can choose how I feel about doing it. Like the website that we're doing. I can choose to feel happy about fixing bugs rather than feeling unhappy that bugs are there to be fixed. I can fix them happily. I can investigate. But guess what? Most of the bugs that people have are in their own mind. What is buggy? Oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, and people tell me to do this and society says to do that, and I don't want to. An example of that is, oh, you're fat. You need to go on a diet. I don't want to go on a diet. I want to eat. I like eating. Or you're not supposed to have sex until you get married. Oh, but I like it. I want it. And so we get in disagreement with ourselves and with our society and with the rules that we have. But when we can come to seeing everything as joyful and happy, now that brings upon a kind of unification. Your mind comes back together in a wholeness because you're the winner here. You're the boss. When you're the slave, you've got no control. And we are all born as slaves and put as slaves, put as servants, doing what we're told to do, spending our whole life like that. That one of the examples that the Buddha gives is the guy has to get up before the king gets up, get himself dressed, and then he has to go and get the king up and get him dressed. He doesn't eat, but he's got to get the food for the king. And there he is following that king around all day long, doing whatever the king wants to do. And then at night, he undresses the king while he's still dressed, puts the king to bed, and then he goes and takes his own clothes off and goes to bed, right? Don't we live our lives like that? That somewhere in our mind there's a king or some boss that's ordering us around. You got to go to work today. You got to go fix the car. You got to go to the bank. There's a boss in there someplace, right? Amrit, do you understand what I'm talking about? Freud, go ahead.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
I completely agree with that.
So, this boss, hello, Daniel.
Hello, everybody.
I got to remember to tell you that I really like your haircut.
Thank you. Very bold.
Yes, so we're talking about the boss or the king inside of our own mind. It tells us what to do on a regular basis. This is referred to by Sigmund Freud as the super ego. It's the top dude. And Eric Berne calls this the parent. Now, the little part of us that feels victim is the part of us that is referred to as the child, our inner child. And we stay in that inner child our whole lives unless we can find a way to get out of it. And the way that we get out of it is by changing our attitude from being a victim into being a winner, being an adult, where we don't need that king, we don't need that super ego, or another way of saying it, we don't need that rule maker and we don't need his rules. That what we need instead is the one rule, which is don't worry, be happy. Come out of our dukkha, come out of our suffering, come out of being bossed around by our own set of rules. Because that's what keeps us separated. We have all of these rules that we've got to follow, standards, and we don't like it. So there's a place where the mind is divided. We're supposed to do something, we're told to do something by the king inside the mind, and we don't want to do it. But we do it anyway. And when we do what we're told to do, we normally do it, but we don't like it. This is what is referred to as in the teachings of the Buddha as the woeful state of being a domesticated animal. The animal goes and does what he is told to do. They hitch that plow to the horse and force the horse to go plow the field. Now that horse was living in his own pasture. He loved his pasture. It had all the goodies to eat, and now he's strapped to a plow, and he has to plow up his own pasture so that the boss, the farmer, can plant what he wants to plant and get the benefits of it. And this is the state that many people have in their jobs. They feel like that they're not getting real benefit out of their job. They're doing the job because they're told to do the job, but the boss gets all the benefit. Then in fact, you can see that in this society, no manager is going to hire a new employee unless that manager thinks that he's going to get some advantage out of that employee. You go to work for Ford Motor Company and you make $50 an hour. Ford Motor Company expects to make $60 an hour and give you 50, and they're going to take 10. It's generally probably even more than that. They probably get $100 for you, pay you 50, and they keep 50. And we are victims to that. And we don't like that job. We don't like being ripped off, but we're supposed to do it. We're told to do it. How many of you have heard the little expression, you don't work, you don't eat? And yet how many people have a job that they don't like? Most people have jobs they don't want to do. They don't enjoy their jobs. Amrit, doesn't that keep your mind divided to being told to go to a job and you don't want to go today, but you got to go anyway? You might get fired. Indeed. You don't work, you don't eat. Okay, so here's all of that division that you were asking about. This is not samadhi. There is no samadhi in that lifestyle, and you have an entire society, like nearly 100% of the people in this society are unhappy. They're divided. They're a crowd inside. They have rules that they can't meet up, and they don't like that, and all kinds of things. And when we get our mind together, what that means is that we bring it to the point of not being a victim to all of that stuff anymore. We don't listen to our rules anymore. We listen to happy thoughts instead. Oh, this is great. Oh, I've got nothing to do and no place to go, and everything is easy peasy, and I do only what I want to do. I'm not in a hurry to get something done so that I'll feel better later. I'm not going to do it until I feel good doing it. This is the way that we start to learn to live our lives, is start enjoying what we're doing. And if you're not enjoying doing it, why should you divide your mind up to go do something that you don't want to do? And we do it ignorantly. We don't do this wisely. We don't live a wise life of behaving the way that we want to behave. We behave the way that we were taught to behave. And that pisses us off sometimes, gets us angry, feeling frustrated, feeling alone and separated and not able to feel whole inside. That everybody, in fact, it's been said that everybody has an emptiness inside. They feel empty, and that they feel like that they've got to go fill it up with something. And so what do people fill it up with? They fill it up with cars, with motorcycles, with bicycles, with houses, with spouses. We keep wanting to fill up that hole inside. That in fact, it reminds me of the song Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. We want to be loved, and we try to fill that hole inside with stuff that doesn't really satisfy us. And so we live lives of quiet desperation, desperately trying to fill up that hole inside. And here comes Christianity and says, hot dog, we've got a plug for that hole. It's called God, and God is hole-shaped. And you can fit God right into that hole and plug you up, and you feel satisfied. But it doesn't work. People will feel satisfied on Sunday, but all week long they feel unsatisfied. Now, the funny thing about the teaching of the Buddha is to recognize that we've got that hole inside and leave it empty. Let's have some space in here. Let's not try to fill it up with all this junk. In fact, it's more like a cathedral. We've got a really empty space, and if we fill it up with junk, there's no room to move around. But if you leave it empty, that gives you total freedom. In the Bible, it's referred to in the Greek as the Basilica Theos. You've heard of a basilica before. That's a Greek word, and it means a big palace, a garden, a big cathedral. Now, what are cathedrals? They're empty. I mean, look at the high ceiling and the spaciousness and all of that. Do you feel like that hole inside is pressuring you, or do you feel like that hole inside of you is spacious, giving you freedom? This is just an attitude. So let's take a deep breath and not fill that hole completely. Let's leave it empty inside so that we can find joy there. That in fact, taking that deep breath is actually like breathing in God. The atmosphere is our God. It keeps us alive. So let's leave that system of emptiness and be satisfied with it. Not just satisfied, but you own that cathedral. It's yours. That holy place inside of you. Get in touch with it. Learn to have that freedom. Start looking for love in the very place that you can find it, and that is within your own heart. This is why the Wat, actually the Thai word, actually comes from the word Vihara, the home, the heart. Let's start living in our own palace, in our own paradise, the paradise that you manufacture with your own happy, wholesome mind. So this is the practice of Anapanasati, and when we practice that well, we will bring things together. And so Samadhi is actually the fifth item on the Eightfold Noble Path, so that we unify the mind, we bring it together with all the wholesome. That in fact you could think of it like this, that wholesomeness is unification itself, and unwholesomeness is the division, cutting it apart. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like this over here. But when we have the feeling of unity, emptiness, wholeness, holiness, We bring things together and we kind of like everything. We become at one with nature. We were mentioning before the issue about serendipity or coincidence. This actually is real, that we begin to see things happening kind of in symphony or in harmony, that the world is actually in harmony, but when we are having unwholesome thoughts, that's more like disharmony, or better still known as noise. We have a noisy mind. It's not musical. It has no tempo. It has no tone in the sense of being in tune. It has no cadence to it. And so when we begin to unify the mind, that means that we get into harmony with the universe. And that harmony then winds up being seen as serendipity. Things just start to happen when you're alert. Just like Kat, you saw that guy, that orange robe, out of the corner of your mind, or out of the corner of your eye. And if you had been off into your own world, oh, poor me, I can't find a place to stay, then you would still be in that state of, oh, poor me, I can't find a place to stay. But instead, you opened your eyes and you saw, and that gave you the opportunity. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, is the unification of the mind means that we absorb everything and bring it in, so that if you're concentrating on your computer and Dad comes to the door and says hi, you know he's at the door before he arrives at the door. Just like Kat, he doesn't have to bring the motorcycle up to the house. I know he's here when he's out at the road, because I'm looking out of the corners of my mind or out of the corners of your eyes. You start having big peripheral vision. You open things up to where concentration is like having blinders or blinkers, where we're not paying attention. So once we have that state of that openness, that samadhi mind, that noble mind state, we can see that things are different now. For instance, the mind is not when the mind is concentrated, it's putting things out. Another one is that if we have doubts, if we have confusions, if we have questions, then we're looking for this and that and other things like that, rather than letting things all come together. Another example besides doubt would be telling a lie. When you tell a lie, you're immediately tearing yourself apart, taking yourself away from the truth. To where if we're practicing correctly, the truth is wonderful. Let's stay with what's real. Lying is, in fact, one of the ways of breaking things apart and separating things. All right? Another example of that is that when the mind is noble, when it's whole, when it's samadhi, we don't want anything. But if we are not in that state and we want something, like a girlfriend or a car or anything that you can think of, whatever it is that you want, the idea or the thought is, I will be better off if I get it, right? Isn't that true? Marcus, for you, wanting things gives you the feeling that you don't have enough. When I want something, I get kind of frustrated and empty, and I want something to fill that hole, so that I'll feel complete again. So, if we want things, we're unwhole. But if you have the samadhi mind, when the mind is all unified together and you don't want anything, this is where the precepts come in. If you don't want anything, you're unlikely to go kill somebody to get it. If you don't want anything, if your mind is whole, if you're already there, if you've got everything that you want and you're completely satisfied, it's quite unlikely you're going to rob somebody to get it or to do your white collar. crime or to shoplift or anything like that. That we keep the precepts when the mind is whole. But when we don't keep the precepts, that means that we're empty, we need something, we got to fill ourselves back up, and that product or that money is going to help me out to make me feel better because I don't feel good because I'm missing something. But when the mind is whole, when the mind is unified, when the mind is in a state of samadhi, noble, we feel complete. We got everything that we need, including that gaping hole inside. It's now a mansion. It's an empty place. It's a cathedral. It's a basilica. And it's empty and it's spacious. And wow, this is really great. And all the love that we ever needed is right there. The place is full of God. That's all there is there, which means that really, if you think about it, there's not much there. There's not much to God. There's no reason to make a big deal out of it when you've got it. So people feel unsuccessful. They feel missing something. Then they would be more complete and whole if they got it. And here we are now practicing. I've already got everything I need. Everything is happy. And by doing that over and over again, we change the mind, we gladden the mind, we brighten the mind, and eventually it changes our attitude. Because really all this is to be able to change our attitude from being a victim to our life and our circumstances into feeling like we're the champion. We've got this wired. We do what we want to do. We live a life of freedom because I'm not having to carry around all of that junk. This is what samadhi is all about. This is why in the noble version of the Eightfold Noble Path, it ends with sila. It ends with high-class morality, to where ordinarily we start with sila or morality in the beginning because we want the kids to behave themselves. We give them a bunch of rules. And so can we actually live a wholesome, moral, high-quality, noble life without any rules? Sure we can, because the rules is what divides and breaks up the mind. But when the mind is unified and whole, we are naturally moral because we're not hurting anyone. Then, in fact, we go around with a big smile on our face and helping everyone that we meet to have a great big smile on their face too. And so by doing it that way, we make friends and we begin to bring our friends together in community, in harmony. That it's not just a little me or a little selfish me, but by practicing being friends with myself, I can then practice being friends with everybody that I meet, and everything is okay. And so everything kind of comes together, and our whole world becomes samadhi. Daniel, do you have any questions or remarks or anything?
I was just thinking it was funny what you mentioned about the rules, because one of the monks at my wat just got disrobed because he wasn't following the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which means his mind was not a samadhi mind.
yeah, I guess so. But it was not even about the precepts. It was more like, I don't know, that they were saying he was washing his bowl incorrectly, and he was getting too much water everywhere. That there were like a lot of minor things, like manners, like more like culture stuff instead of precepts. So that was interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
But if he
I feel
had
like
had a,
there's
go ahead.
I feel like there's big part of staying here that's more about the culture in Thailand than it is really about the Buddha's teaching.
I have mentioned that before, yes, that in fact, the patty milk that is followed by the monks in Thailand really is more about what the community expects, especially the lay community. And the lay community has their ideas about it. And a noble, high quality monk is just going to go along with that because he's okay. He doesn't need the Buddha's patty milk. He'll use the Thai patty milk instead, and that's good enough. Let's find out what things are like, and we can handle that. We can live that way. So, Marcus, do you have anything to say?
No, it's been a great talk.
Your mind is Samadhi?
Not quite, but getting there.
No, it is. Keep telling yourself that you've got it. It's already there. When you say, oh, not quite yet, that's an unwholesome thought. And it itself is a lie. We say, oh, well, I wouldn't say that I've got it together now because that's not true, but rather you make it true. Yeah, I got it. I can do it. Certainly you can do it. Certainly you can bring your mind together. It's easy peasy. It's not hard to do. You just have to keep doing it over and over again, which means seeing those thoughts. Oh, I don't have it quite yet. Oh, poor me. Oh, I'm a victim. And you can throw those thoughts out and bring those thoughts back to, I could do this. I can have a samadhi mind. I can bring it together. Wow, what a relief it is. I do have my mind straightened out right now. I do have a samadhi mind right now. Can you say that? Can you give yourself a permission to be a winner yet, Marcus?
Yes.
How? Yeah, okay. How long are you going to cling to the, oh, you don't have it up to your standards yet? We've got rules here, you know, and you can't do it. So you got to go and confess, oh, I'm not up there yet. And the answer is you set your own rules, and the rules that you set is everything's okay. Everything is fine. I've got it together right now. This is great. You keep having those thoughts over and over and over again, and pretty soon you'll get the attitude going of, yeah, I can. Yeah, I've got this wired. Yes, I am whole. I don't need anything. I'm looking for love only in the right places. In fact, I found it, and so now I'm not even looking anymore. Not even worried about where am I going to find the good love, because I've already got it. Can you have those kind of thoughts? Marcus, can you have the good kind of thoughts? Can you say, I got it. We can do this. You're okay already. In fact, you're enlightened already. No need for enlightenment. You got everything you need. I see resistance in it. You're not quite there yet. You said, oh, but I got to do this. I've got this rule to keep. I got to do it that way. And then, but right now, you're already okay. Allow that. Just realize, wow, what a relief it is that I don't have to do anything to be okay. I'm already there. That's the unification. Amrit, do you see what I'm talking about? That he divides himself up with that thought of, I'm not there yet. He's got some rule that he's not quite there yet. Instead of just saying, yeah, this is good enough. This is it. Daniel, what you got?
So I was wondering, sometimes I try to gladden the mind, but I can notice that I don't really believe the gladdening thoughts that I have. So how would you handle that? Just
Well,
yeah.
recognize that that thought comes in, I don't quite believe this, and say, aha, I see that. And then throw that thought out and have it replaced with the thought of, this is still okay. It's all right already. I don't have to improve. You're already there. Stow those standards and those rules and your supposed tos out and just enjoy. But you have to see them first. Can you see those unwholesome thoughts that I'm not there yet? Because when you're having that unwholesome thought, you're not there yet. So, Rick, yeah, go ahead, Amrit.
I have a question about thoughts. So sometimes I don't feel the thoughts, but I feel like a stress in my body. For instance, I have this boss you were talking about, the super ego or boss of Eric Berne. It's give me a task. I need to do something, maybe clean my room, and I have not cleaned my room, and then I don't have a thought of this, but I just feel like a stress in my head and body. So this is also, you classify as a thought, or is?
All right. When you have those sensations and feelings of anxiety in your body, how do you feel? You don't like them. You want it to go away.
Yes.
And the
Then I
right
think
way
that
to
tomorrow I will clean up my room first, and then I'm trying to negotiate with the boss.
Yeah. So what we can say is the room's okay right now, and so am I. This anxiety, I'm glad I see it. Instead of saying, oh, I should not have this anxiety, I got to work on it, I got to do anapanasati to feel better. Instead saying, aha, I see that. I see that anxiety. Wow, I'm glad I can see it. I'm the boss here. I'm going to have that anxiety for fun now. So, Dean, I've been expecting you to join. We're just about to finish up.
That's no problem. I do you know what? I can watch the video when it comes up in the group.
All right. Well, you can. It's going to be right there on the group right now. You don't have to wait until it's published on YouTube. It's going to be published just right after the call finishes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thanks very much. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah. Right. Look at your clock. You guys changed your clock. Here we didn't change any clocks. We don't change clocks in Thailand, and so you guys change your clocks. Be careful about that. This is the clock changing season. Did you just change your clock, Dean? Be mindful of that you changed your clock so that you can come on time.
Last week we changed our clock, I think. So, yeah, it's no biggie.
No biggie. Great. You hear that, Marcus? No big deal. There's nothing to it. Doesn't matter. You can watch the video later. You hear that positive attitude. This is what we're talking about. This is the unification of mind rather than, oh, poor me, I wasn't here for the hour. I screwed that one up. I'm not up to scratch yet. I still have to make improvements. And this is what keeps us stuck in our misery. If things are not good enough yet. All we need to do is change our attitude that everything is okay. Everything is fine. Rick, do you have anything to say? Any last words?
Well, I just wanted to say that I thought this was one of the best Sangha calls I've only joined 2, but this was really great. That's all I wanted to say. I've just been sitting here with a smile on my face, especially the words about the cathedral and the basilica of your the emptiness inside yourself. Because I remember in our last call we were talking about like, oh, there is really no meaning, and whatever questions you have, there will not be an answer to. And then I mentioned to you that that was like a scary thought, but you now kind of like the way you explained it now makes it feel like it's actually a really good thing, and like it helps me embrace that idea of like emptiness, I guess.
Yes. Let's leave things empty. This marvelous, just nothing's there, nothing to it. Life is really easy when you stop wanting it to be better. When you stop making improvements, you've arrived. This is the teaching of the Buddha, dukkha, dukkha, nirodha. See that dissatisfaction. See that I'm not good enough. See that trip that you got to make. See all of that crap that you keep coming up with that you learned from your society, and change it right now. Make a change, Marcus. You're okay right now. Nothing needs to be added. You're already whole. Just give yourself permission. Take a deep breath and say, yeah, it's already good enough. Anybody got any last words? Marcus, do you have any final remarks?
No, just chilling.
Pardon?
No, just chilling.
Just chilling. Yes, just chilling. Just samadhi. Just nibbana. That's what we were talking about last time, I think. It's just chilling out. No heat. No worries. Everything is good. Amrit, did I answer your questions today about what is the word samadhi? What does it mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I have quite a good understanding of it now, and also how to practice.
Great.
And I'm practicing it right now, so everything is good.
Me too. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you again. Keep coming
Bye.
back. Dean, I'll see you soon. Give me a call.
Thank you, Dhammarato. Thank you,
All
guys.
right.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.